It is my pleasure to bring back to the Ripple stage David Liechty. We met David actually at the Reentry Center here in South Bend. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but we have sung there a couple of times. It's a correctional facility here in South Bend that helps with the transition for folks like Dave who are about to be released and need some help getting on their feet. And so I think that it would be fitting for you to give us a little bit of a recap, though. What happened prior to that point? What led to your incarceration and all of the miracles that took place after that?
Okay. When I was 18, I was a little bit young and wild, and some things led to get me in trouble for murder and arson. And I ended up doing a 25 years of a 55-year sentence. And towards the middle of that, after being through a bunch of things, of joining a gang, getting in some troubles, and just spiraling downhill, a situation occurred where I gave myself to the Lord and got saved. And I started to change my life a little bit in prison, and the Lord started working on me and changing my ways. And that's when I got to South Bend Work Release Center, and we watched the concert when they came in, and then somebody talked to her about me, and then she came up and talked for a second and said, "You're gonna talk at one of my concerts." But yeah, so during that time, yeah, we was definitely able to have the concert, move on, and South Bend was really good at getting us prepared. They taught us about shopping, they taught us about jobs and how to work at the jobs and how to manage our money and things like that. It was a good experience there. I was released in 2020 to a program that was an early release program that you had to work through the stages to get through.
Yeah, so let's put this in perspective, shall we? It's early 2020. David calls, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh man, I'm so bummed. We've got this pandemic. I've lost all my freedom." "How are you, Dave?" "I am fabulous." And so what were the things that were kind of a shock? What were the things that took a little bit of it? You hadn't driven, right, until you were released?
Right, I haven't driven for 25 years. That was interesting getting that. I was a little bit nervous on that. But the bigger shock was the technology.
Yes.
You know, when I got arrested, they had pagers, and if people had a lot of money, they had a car phone. So when I get out, my sister gives me this cell phone, a smartphone at that, and I'm just looking at it, and I had no clue what to do with it. And then there was the self-checkouts, and so there was a lot of things that you just had to learn. That, you know, and it's funny because, you know, you got these little kids that are whipping through it like it's nothing, and I was getting so frustrated and so confused with it. So yeah, technology was probably the biggest thing that was just. And then going to Fort Wayne, seeing how much it's changed in 25 years.
Which is where you're living now? Close to it?
Close to where we're living now, yes.
Yeah. And I think I recall too that it was quite an adjustment to live in your house by yourself where it was so quiet.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
It was definitely different. When the first night my sister stayed with me, but after that, yeah, it's the first few nights, anytime you hear a noise, anytime you'd have to get up, go check it out, or, you know, anytime you want to fix something, you're looking around, like, oh wait, I got it right here, oh wait, I just gotta grab this pan out of there. So yeah, living alone at first definitely took a little bit of getting used to. You know, like I said, I was 18 when I got arrested, so I've never lived on my own before. So yeah, living in my own place was amazing, but it was also scary at the beginning.
Now, the times that we have been to the Reentry Center and have entertained there, we also talk to the guys for a really long time, as much as we can. And a prevailing theme that crops up about incarceration, and particularly at the Reentry Center, is that the food is horrible. So I have to know, as soon as you got out, did you head to the Taco Bell, or what, did you have dreams of what am I going to eat when I get out?
But actually, we weren't allowed, when I first got out, like I said, I was in that program, so I was directly on house arrest. We weren't allowed to stop and get anything to eat. But my mother and sister had completely furnished the house with food. And yeah, that night was like fried pork chops and some potatoes, and yeah, so yeah, definitely good that night.
That's awesome. But it wasn't all fun. I recall that you said to me, of course, the first course of action was finding a job.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, not easy in a pandemic, but you had said that you spent a lot of time just finding a job, and in fact...
Yeah, it was probably, I looked about 8 hours a day to get a job, and by the time I was done, my counselor said I'd put in over 400 applications and about 200 interviews. And then towards the end of that month, I was blessed to find a job that got me started.
You had told me at the time it was a full-time job, finding a job.
Yes, ma'am.
And you stuck with it. Now let's talk about the odds a little bit here. We're talking to a very special guy because not everybody makes it like you do. You talked about some other guys who were released around the same time. What was their fate?
Well, there's a bunch of us that I've kept in touch with or that I've kept track of, and that we was in a kind of a Bible study together, that hung out a little bit. And the ones that when we got out, we stayed in the faith. A lot of us are doing good. One's living in Florida and married. I've been blessed with an amazing wife, and the other one's doing well. And then there's 4 of them I know that 2 are back and 2 have been killed. That one got out and started going down the old path that we were in.
So we beat the odds, and in fact, somebody placed a bet.
Yes.
On you. Tell us about that.
There was 2 guys that when I first became a Christian and started changing my life, bet that it was fake and it was a hoax, and that I would be right back and that I'd be doing the things I'd be doing. And later on, me and one of the gentlemen got in touch with him, and he told me about that bet and told me that he'd won a bet.
I tell you what. And so for a while, I remember too, and you just alluded to this fact that you weren't really allowed, you were very restricted on where you could go.
Yes, ma'am.
And so once that, yes ma'am.
We don't even do that.
Yeah. We could learn a lesson here. Yes ma'am, I expect. Then I forgot. Oh yeah. Once the restrictions were lifted, where were some of your first places that you went? What were some of your favorite places? And what's a dream destination for you?
Well, the dream destination actually hit on the honeymoon. We went to Panama City Beach, Florida on our honeymoon. We did helicopter rides and got to kiss dolphins, and it was amazing. But I'm actually in my dream life right now. But when I first got out, a lot of the destinations was just family events, restaurants, simple things. I found that they mean a lot more after you've lost them for so long. Now family events or food, things like that mean a lot more. And today, like I said, it went from that to where, I've lived it. I've had my dreams. I've lived them. I've been, married to an amazing woman. We have a home. We have good jobs, stepkids that are awesome. So I'm living the American dream right now. I've been very blessed. I have a good church. God's blessed me to put me in some situations and events. So I've definitely been blessed since I've been out.
And you're very humble about it. You don't say, I did this and I took all these steps and I was so careful. Who do you attribute it to?
Oh, it's God. It's 100% God. Somebody asked me one time, how do you know Jesus is real? How do you know Jesus is the real deal? How do you know what you're doing is real? And I said, because the changes made in me, I couldn't have made it myself. So it's definitely the Lord. The Lord can bless anybody, anytime.
Yeah.
Ain't he something?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like for us to know?
Just to remember, like I said, it don't matter where you're at in life. You can be at your downest part of your life when you think it's over with and you think the worst has happened to you. And the Lord can lift you up from there, and He can do amazing things if you just put your faith in Him and keep moving towards the Lord.
Well, David, I think I speak for all of us when I say we are so proud of you. Thank you for coming.